We would consider Johannesburg to be one of the most radioactive cities in the world.
We are having a problem of children with the same deformity. Children who cannot walk, children who cannot talk.
From these tailing storage facilities alone, 50 tons of uranium enter the groundwater.
The landscape around Johannesburg has been scarred by more than 130 years of gold mining. Massive dumps loom over the city. To have about a teaspoon full of gold, you have to extract a ton of waste. And that waste includes toxic heavy metals like arsenic, lead, chrome, uranium, and others, and then they can contaminate not only the water but also the air. The people who live close to the mine dumps are worried.
Today we are here in Snake Park to the community that is affected by the mine dump. People who live adjacent to the mine dump that has caused death to our people. My name is Tiny. I'm a campaigner here in Snake Park, Soweto. And mines are using chemicals lapayana. They are using chemicals that are very strong.
There hasn't been a large-scale medical study on the impact of the mine dumps. But in this one small neighborhood, we met 4 children with cerebral palsy, and the community is convinced that's significant.
A lot of children are sick because of this mine dump. A lot of people are coughing because of this mine dump. Now we are coming across children with cerebral palsy.
The doctors won't tell you that it's linked to the mine dumps, and they don't explain each and anything to you.
But what do you believe?
I do believe that it's the cause of this mine dumps. It's very, very difficult and it's painful. Seeing children her age can take themselves to the toilet, can go to the school, and you have the burden to change the diapers, feed her. And sometimes, even though she's got a pain somewhere, you can't be able to know. You just have to figure it out yourself, what is wrong with the baby when it's crying.
For as long as people do not investigate what is happening in their country, we will forever be sold the narrative by the media. And let's not forget who owns the media in this country. People cannot afford food in this country. Yet our country finds a way to throw away food. How are we throwing food? Making it ridiculously expensive for an average person to afford. And then we get surprised that people don't buy them and they get thrown away. A principal researcher at a Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, was doing research for a study that she led, which shows how in South Africa an estimated 10.3 million tons a year of edible food does not reach people's stomach. And wait guys, that's not all. On top of them starving us, purposely by the way, rising bills, purposely, they also leave their toxic mines. Even those who are currently operating white-owned mines, they dump toxic chemicals near to black townships, which harms the populations of those areas. The people are harmed, the children are harmed. And whenever we talk about the Zamazamas operating illegally in these mines, making tons of billions for these people, they are also not hiring black people. They hire illegal immigrants to make illegal profit in our country, corrupting the system and bankrupting the system that operates currently in South Africa. Basically, we are run by the mafia, basically.
This is a dump right next to where Tiny and the other families are living. In the air they breathe are lots of heavy metals, including lead and uranium. So how radioactive is this place?
We are looking at the Geiger counter now, and we've gone up to 12.24. Now we are completely in the red zone.
That's 5 times more than the legal limit for exposure per year for someone working in a nuclear facility in the UK. What we are doing now, is it dangerous for us?
The community here is exposed 24 hours out of 24 hours. For us, we come here maybe once a week. If I ingest a single grain of dust and it decides to impact on my DNA codes, or I can get bone cancer, or I can get colon cancer and so on from it. There's a variety of illnesses that you can get from the lead, from the arsenic, from the uranium, from the cadmium, from the copper and so on that is in there. What is the recourse of this community here when they do become ill as a result of this particular dump?
There are many communities around Johannesburg living close to more than 200 mine dumps. And here in Tudeshaft informal settlement, people have built their homes right next to radioactive waste. Tudeshaft has been declared a radiation area. In June, a parliamentary committee urged that the people who live here should be relocated as quickly as possible.
Here is the dump material, and you can see this shack is built adjacent to the dump material, in fact on the dump material, which its common cause is high in radioactivity and toxic metals. It was recommended that people that live here must be screened. In other words, they must wear lead suits in order to live here, or they may only visit their houses for very short periods of time, not to be exposed to the radioactivity.
Each and every day when it's windy, you can feel there's something inside your body. Can even sometimes you even cough, and when you cough, you know that wind, that soil is coming inside you, inside your stomach, so your lungs. That's how it affects us. This is my baby Lou. She's only 2 months old. All I wish for her is to come out of this place and go somewhere, have a safe environment where my baby can stay. Please, maybe if they can allocate us and go somewhere, have a house, live a healthy life.
A study conducted in Rivoli, another nearby township, found clear evidence of the danger of living close to a mine dump.
Children and adults who live closer to the mine dump have significantly elevated levels of lead in their blood. And the same applied to soil. The closer people's gardens or houses were to the mine dump, the higher the levels of lead in their soil. We need better information, we need the public to get involved, we need lobbyists, pressure groups to push for the interventions that will allow people to live healthier lives. And you can't live an optimally healthy life if you live too close to a mine dump.
So now we've come here to the Mineral Council to speak to these guys who represent the mining companies, and we want to know what they think about this problem and if they think that they are responsible.
There should be a buffer zone between communities and the mine dumps, and the distance is regulated. So the incidences that you are talking about are instances where it's the communities that have encroached on the mine dumps, because the mine dumps were there before the communities.
Isn't some of the responsibility has to be taken by the industry?
Well, the industry is taking responsibility. What you're talking about are just anomalies.
But actually, they are not anomalies. It's estimated that tens of thousands of people around Johannesburg live on or close to mine dumps. It's of great concern to the government.
We are dealing with rehabilitation and the legacies of mining at many fronts. It's a huge problem that we have to deal with. We've got over 6,000 ownerless mines. So to deal with them, it's going to cost us, the initial cost at the time when the actuarial evaluation was done was at about 300 billion rands. So it's a huge liability that we have as a state. We don't have enough resources to do everything.
It is unacceptable for mining companies to move on, leaving gaping holes in the ground, polluted rivers and unenriched and disrupted communities.
They must find whoever that's owned those mines to come and compensate whomsoever that's it. The mine has damaged their life.
All I want is my people to see my people healthy. All I want is to see my people protected from the dam. And all I want is to see the government or the miners rehabilitating these mine dams because they are causing a havoc to my people.
It's also the same thing that's happening to the people of West Rand, where they push us further and further and further into problems. And when it's Sikulu Mangama mines, which are owned by white people, that dump their toxic chemicals right next to black townships, the first thing they want us to point to is the ANC. Whenever they don't make use of those mines, they call in the Zamazamas. Just shows you that they don't care about black population and what happens to us, in fact. So take this information as you will. Have a lovely day. The enemy has always been the same. They never changed. They only changed their strategy and how they present themselves to us. From the Nyaupa epidemic, black people living next to mine dumps, to starving black people, them not being able to afford food, to denying them jobs, to also illegal billions that are made in this country, people not paying tax, using illegal workers. And this is not just for mines per se, this is also for corporations and all these negative qualities that are associated into bringing down the black person. So the enemy just got creative in distracting black people, but the enemy has always been the same person. Whenever we also speak about such things and how the media also portrays white people, even in sectors where you would think white people are not involved, they are. No one gives you your liberation, you need to take it. Even when we bring the question of land, they tell us, what are you going to do with it? I mean, the same thing you do with it. You mine, you farm, you build corporations. Basically, your land is your investment. Basically, secondly, your land is your safety net. So why don't you just give it up if it's not that much value? Ramaphosa has always made it clear to us that he has zero intentions of working for black people. The media in this country sold us the concept of Ramaphosa after they took out Zuma. Remember also that Zuma was working against the interest of white capitalists in this country. He was not corrupt for white people. He was corrupt for black people, and they took him out. So to repackage and people to have some sort of interest in the ANC for as long as they deemed, they gave us Ramaphosa and said, you know, Ramaphosa is a billionaire, he's a successful businessman, he's also a lawyer, he is not capable of corruption, he is the best man to lead this country. This, by the way, was the media in this country. But if we go back in history, Ramaphosa worked so hard to gain interest of these billionaires. Remember also that they funded his law degree. They took him to school, the Oppenheimers and the Rupert, which he later on worked for them, gave him few percentage there and there and made him a billionaire. I can say that with full confidence after the Marikana saga. He owns just a smaller fraction of the percentage in them. Yet, however, the major shareholders did not take responsibility for the backlash that came after Marikana. And after that crisis, South Africa brought in a heavy load of Zamazamas to operate in mine work. Wait, let's just check this out for a second. Billionaire businessman Johann Rupert has allegedly given President Cyril Ramaphosa a marching order instructing him to toe the line and fire Ace Magashule. I hope I said that right. ANC Secretary General. Do you want to guess what Ramaphosa did? Of course he fired him. I love investigating white people. This is why. Because investigating white people always leads me to the very same people. If I had to investigate a black person, eventually it would tie me back to the same very people, white people. There are also billionaires that you haven't heard of also, who don't live in SA, but they have major stake in this country. They know everything, moves, shakes, everything. And the president clears the way for them. Let's just think about this for a second. How can you loan a full country money to move away from the resources, yeah, that the citizens of the country need as a basic need? You give us loan. It's not a payment. They're not paying us. They give us a loan so that we can also pay them back for us to move away from our coal. Yeah, this is why we say he clears the way for them. He just has to ensure that white capitalism in this country keeps doing what they can keep on doing to us. And then we, the citizens, are going to have to pay this $8.5 billion back to them. So basically, they give us money and then they take it back with interest. Investigating white people is so much fun.